Okay, so the next question, our last question for tonight, is somebody was asking. They have a one room where they're going to need to start the cocktail time, but they're having to go do ceremony system at a different location. So they're wondering, how do I start? Because there's people who literally run. They sprint to their car after the ceremony's done, get in their car, and they squeal their tires, and then they're there like before anybody else. That happens up here at least. Golf cart, whatever. So the question is how do you have music going there and when you're using your main computer, laptop, at a ceremony? Which, many people only have one copy of Virtual DJ, and that's on their main computer, and they don't have two computers, whatever. How would you recommend that be handled, guys?
Where was that question at? Towards the top? Or?
It's down. It's right there. Somebody just was next to it. Yeah. Yeah, but it's...
I underlined it.
All right, because I answered two questions on there exactly the same. One was about what do you use for music? The other one was about taking photographs. My answer is, in this day and age, if you don't have something that can play music in a separate area, I'm questioning that you shouldn't be doing this job. Because, again, I always tick people off when I say this. I'm not trying to tick you off, but literally any electronic device can do our job to a certain level. So if you just need music, even if it's put the music, the old phone there, playing songs off a list while you run and get that, come back and put it in the main thing. So you use it on the first part of the gig, use your laptop, have the other thing setting there to play music while you unhook and go back and then hook up your laptop. Anything, literally. Anything can play music nowadays. I have a backup phone that I keep for emergencies. I paid $60 for it. It plays music. You can wait till Amazon Prime Day and buy a Kindle that will play music for $35. If you have a friend who is a technological person, ask for one of their throwaway things, because their throwaway things are probably really good. I mean, I literally have in this studio 2 devices that I cannot throw away, but I never use them. One is a Chromebook, really good Chromebook. The other one is a really good Android tablet. I don't use either one of them. So if somebody were to come up and say, hey, I'll make you an offer for that, I need a second thing for that, chances are I take you up on it because it's going to rot here. Or I'll step on it by accident because I move it here, move it there, prop it under this thing, So I think there's like anything in the world you can use with a little bit of setup to play that second part of the music. How would you guys are going to go about it a different way, I'm guessing, by the way you're looking at me?
Go ahead, John.
So I've actually had this my last 4 weddings because I've been doing ceremony and it's been off-site or at least outside. And I literally, I want to keep, I've got my main computer that I set because I have to buy a couple of songs. Weird, but that's just the way they've been. So the system, I've got the cell phone. It's got a Spotify playlist. It's Yacht Rock. It's got 3.5 hours of Yacht Rock playlist. And I've played it numerous times, so it's a decent mix. I start that. It goes 3.5 hours. That's time enough for the ceremony to get done, and I can transfer back and forth. And then when I come walking into the venue, there is some music going. It's not too loud. I keep it fairly low, but it's there so that you're not walking into a dead room. And the staff is like, hey, it's kind of nice to have some music going during the while we're setting up. So there's a point where it's there, but not loud enough that they can't talk and do what they need to be doing when they're doing final setups and such. And it's gone over really, really well. This past weekend's wedding, it was doing its thing inside. It was raining, so I couldn't go set up. I just basically sat by the window watching it like a forlorn puppy. And the staff's back there, and they're kind of bebopping along. And a couple of times I heard them singing along to a couple of the yacht rock type songs. So it is a nice combination of using that little device to do its thing. That way, my main laptop was ready to go outside, and the second laptop, I do have a second one, but I don't bring it out because I have this fear that if I put it up and I have 2 laptops, that's the night that some person with their beer is going to go out there and say, "Hey, can you make a request?" And then it just soaked both of my laptops, and I have lost both of them. So I've seen systems with all 3 laptops up. It looks great, but I've got this unusual fear of people dumping. If they dump a drink on my first laptop, I have laptop number 2. If I have a second controller, and these are both just sitting in the truck if I need them. So, cell phone is doing what MJ said was exactly what I would do.
So I agree. First off, I'm going to say I agree. Like with MJ and John and the idea of having two. John, I will say I like your idea that I hadn't utilized before, which was just to have something super long that just gives you that impression and just have that running the whole time. A lot of times, what ends up happening is I have everything hooked up, but what happens is I'm playing that recessional song. I'll go back to the venue where the main reception setup is, press play for the cocktails, and then go back and then start tearing everything down. And it's a lot of back and forth where I could give myself a little bit more free time and not have to try and run ahead of the guests who got, dismissed first. So if you utilize that, I think it's a great idea. But I think it's also important to recognize that if for some reason, you don't have the ability to have that second device, whether it's a phone, whether it's a tablet or something like that, first off, save the money from your next gig and then go get it. But in the meantime, there's not a terrible expectation, which is kind of sad, that the second somebody walks into that cocktail area, that there needs to be something playing. So if the only single device that you have is your main computer, and maybe it's because you've got to have your phone on you because you're getting an emergency call and you can't turn it on airplane mode, whatever. Then when you are done with said song, quickly disconnect it, get that up to the main area, hook it in, and start playing as quick as you can. And just recognize that you need to look for ways to enable to have more than one device. If at the very least, it's your backup. Like that's what I used to do. I used to carry two full laptops with me. One was my regular, one was my backup. My backup was what I used for all my ceremonies, and my regular is what I used for my receptions. And that's what I did until I got tired of lugging two, at that point, heavy laptops.
Do you know of any DJs who do weddings that don't have a backup laptop? So let's not even the day of. I'm not talking about even necessarily that, but that like if their computer went down on a Thursday, they wouldn't be able to do the wedding on the weekend. Do you think there's anybody out really?
Yeah, there are some. Yep, I know a couple of guys who have a laptop, and their backup is a Kindle, like a Kindle Fire. And if the laptop would go down on a Thursday, they either are buying one to put their external hard drive on, or whatever. And that's generally what their plan has been. Is that they've got it set up that they could go to Office Depot, buy a laptop of any sort, and then they can install the main software, and then they got their hard drive, a couple of hard drives with all the music on it.
Right.
And I've seen posts of this one's not so much weddings. This is some more bar clientele, or bar DJs rather. But I've seen posts of like, "Hey, help me! Like my MacBook's acting funny, and I don't know what happened, and as a result, I need to fix something for Saturday. Because I've got to play, and I've seen videos of other ones that are having a powwow session, trying to figure out or trying to fix what happened. Whether the issue is the computer or whether the issue was something else, it doesn't matter. There was an issue, and there was probably a moment of panic, especially if that had been a day or two later.
Sure.
I literally have 3 laptops ready to go at all times because it's my job. And if I'm hired as a professional to do my job, there shouldn't be anything that stops me from doing my job.
There's also, I think, a lot of people who view this as not their job, but as a thing that pays them money. And so as a result, they
what
don't
a job is.
I understand that, but I worded it slightly different to create the viewpoint that they don't treat it or follow it with the necessity and the importance that it deserves for what they do. And that means having a backup that is capable of actually being a real backup.
How many that I'm not even talking about a good backup. I'm talking like John said, go to Walmart, buy a cheap one, do the gig. Even have that as a backup, I think is important. Anything, a used one. I know guys that buy MacBooks from 2012 and use that as their backup. It barely does what it needs to do, but that's
the irony of that statement is we were looking at our laptops, and mine is a 2012 unit. I've never had problems with it hiccuping or anything to that effect. And Michael and I were looking, and he's got a 2016, and he was having problems with it about twice a night. It would freeze up on him, and he's like, "Well, figured out it was a hard drive. The external hard drive was the problem." But it's like, I've been running this 2012 since I think I bought it in 13, something to that effect. It's been, and yeah, of course, it's now a legacy product or whatever it is Apple says.
Right.
So when
Right.
it dies, it gets recycled. So,
I just want to take that time to encourage you all that even if it was like Dan said, it isn't the most important job for you. The peace of mind, not to have that freak out, it's worth it. Even if you have to save up a year for it, anything, just have that peace of mind because, man, you have some father of the bride breathing down your neck, you know,
yeah. Nice.
or cousin Vinny that's just, or Bubba. I don't know what your cousin's name is. I don't know where you're from.
Where you're from. Depends where you're from. So.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's the peace of mind. I think that's why I have 3. The peace of mind, just that I can just do my job and then worry about replacing it, fixing it later.
Yeah.
One of them I've showed you is that little Surface Book Pro. I bought it used, didn't cost much, is really not powerful, but push comes to shove, I can finish the night and then worry about the Mac, worry about the laptop at another point.
Exactly. And that's why the phone stays hooked up to the system. Yeah. And if I have to, I could perform from the cell phone while the other computer's getting
which I've seen guys even do that in the clubs where they'll just have their phone there and have when people, can I plug my phone in? No, but they'll have something set up for themselves in case that happens. They need to reboot the computer. They have a mix set there, so it just, these little things keep you peace of mind. So if you can.
Gentlemen, we need to wrap. It's almost Howie time. So,
okay.
Tomorrow night, we're not going to be doing a Tuesday night with Ben Stowe. Tomorrow night, I've got some things going on tomorrow evening. So it's our last Tuesday of the month anyway. So we've had our other shows, and then we'll be back in October with the Tuesday night with Ben Stowe show. So tomorrow night, there'll be a music and mixing show that will be going up at 9 o'clock Eastern. Then they'll be doing the recording at 10 o'clock Eastern at the Chill Room, DJNTV.com/chill. That's what's going to be going on next with Hanging with Howie. He's going to be talking health insurance and the full-time DJ and what you do when it comes to that. He's got some folks that we'll be talking with this evening. Then Wednesday night, we've got the Hanging with Howie from a couple of weeks ago. That'll be streaming Wednesday night. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get the part 3 of the how do you price your DJ services up this week. I think we've got an editing, the audio for some reason didn't come through properly and it's like out of sync and like it just started stretching. Yeah, Michael's like, I could fix it or you could just redo it. And I think I'm going to just redo it. So anyway, that should be it for this week. And then, we'll be back to you next Monday night.
And we're into Rocktober.
Yeah, October's here already. Crazy.
And people can't wait for Speaker November.
Yes.
All right. So. Anyway, on that note, have yourself a wonderful, wonderful evening. If you hope you learned something, if not, hopefully you just laughed at us and called us crazy. We enjoy having you with us. Have yourself a great night. We'll see you next time.
Good night, everybody.